Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. The roar of engines echoed through Laguna Seca circuit as Sofia Vargas adjusted her headphones, watching Formula One cars fly down the track at 200 miles per hour. As chief engineer for the Thunder Racing team, she had dedicated the last 3 years of her life to this moment. The first race of the American F1 season. "Sofia, we need telemetry data from car 27. Her assistant shouted over the deafening noise. She ran toward the paddock, laptop in hand, when suddenly crash, a metallic bang made the ground shake. Car 27 had lost control at turn 8 and was now on fire in the middle of the track. Without thinking twice, Sofia dropped everything and ran toward the safety barrier. "Stop. You can't go there." A strong hand pulled her by the arm, but she broke free. "Let go of me. That's my driver in there." She climbed the protective fence with an athlete's agility, jumped onto the track, and ran toward the burning car. Behind her, she could hear someone shouting her name, but it didn't matter. Noah was trapped inside. Suddenly, another figure jumped the barrier behind her. "Dylan Harper is engaged." "Are you crazy?" he shouted, running beside her. "And who are you to follow me?" Together, they reached the car. The mysterious man, with surprising strength, helped tear off the jammed door, while Sofia disconnected the safety systems. Within seconds, they managed to pull Noah out, who was conscious but dazed. The rescue teams finally arrived, and only then did Sofia realize her hands were trembling with adrenaline. She looked at the man beside her, whose suit was torn and stained with smoke. "Thank you," she said breathlessly. "You saved his life." "We saved it," he corrected, extending his dirty hand. "I'm Dylan Harper." Without thinking, she shook his hand. That's when she heard the first camera click, then another and another. She looked at the man beside her, whose suit was torn and stained with smoke. "Darn," Dylan muttered, noticing the cameras. "What?" Sofia frowned. That's when she saw it. One of the photographers, Brooke Tanaka from Sports Illustrated, was practically screaming into her phone. "Yes, I have the photo. Dylan Harper is engaged. I repeat, America's most eligible bachelor is officially off the market. Yes, I have the photo." Sofia felt the blood drain from her face. Dylan pulled her closer, whispering urgently in her ear. "Listen, I know this is crazy, but if you let go of me now in front of all these cameras, it'll look like you publicly rejected me. My company will go bankrupt in 24 hours. And why is that my problem?" "Because," he said, his green eyes fixed on hers, "I just invested $500 million in Thunder Racing. Technically, I'm your new boss." Sofia's world stopped. Out of nowhere, she was being pulled by Dylan toward the reporters, approaching like a pack of hungry wolves. "Dylan, Dylan, is it true you're engaged?" shouted one reporter. One of the photographers, Brooke Tanaka from Sports Illustrated, was practically screaming into her phone. "When's the wedding?" Sofia looked at Dylan, then at the cameras, then at her own hand, still intertwined with his. "How long have you been together?" asked another. And the worst part, he was right. If she let go of him now, it would be a public humiliation that would destroy not only him, but also the investment that would save her team. She started to speak, but Dylan interrupted her. "We prefer to keep our private life private," he said, with a charming smile for the cameras. "But I can say I'm very happy." The cameras fired like machine guns. Sofia forced a smile, feeling like she was about to faint. "Very happy," she repeated mechanically. And that's how, in less than an hour, Sofia Vargas went from single engineer to fake fiancé of America's most famous billionaire. When they finally managed to escape the reporters, Dylan pulled her into a black limousine. "You're completely insane," she exploded. "I don't even know you." I know. He ran his hands through his hair. "But listen, I can explain everything. I just need you to trust me for a few days." "A few days?" "The photo of us must already be on the front page of every newspaper in the country." Dylan grabbed his phone, and seconds later showed her the screen. "Billionaire Dylan Harper engaged to mysterious engineer. CNN, wedding of the year. Who is the woman who conquered Harper's heart of stone? TMZ. Exclusive photos of the moment Dylan Harper proposed. People magazine." Sofia felt like the world was spinning backward. "My life is over," she murmured. "No," Dylan said, his voice suddenly serious. "Your life is just beginning, because I have a proposal for you." The limousine felt smaller by the second as Sofia stared at Dylan Harper, the man who had just turned her life upside down in less than an hour. Outside the tinted windows, She could see reporters still lingering around the paddock, their cameras ready like vultures waiting for their next meal. Okay, talk. Sophia crossed her arms, her engineering mind kicking into problem-solving mode. What's this proposal you mentioned? Dylan loosened his tie and pulled out a tablet from a compartment she hadn't noticed. His fingers moved quickly across the screen before he turned it toward her. This, he said, is a contract. Sophia's eyebrows shot up. A contract? Are you seriously trying to make our fake engagement legal? Not the engagement, Dylan said quickly. A business partnership. Look at Clause 17. She scrolled through the document, her eyes widening as she read. Harper Enterprises Thunder Racing Partnership Agreement. Clause 17. Public relations, contingency. What's this proposal you mentioned? Dylan loosened his tie and pulled out a tablet from a compartment she hadn't noticed. You planned this? Sophia's voice rose an octave. No, absolutely not. Dylan ran his hands through his hair again, a nervous habit she was starting to notice. This clause was added by my lawyers for other situations. I have a bit of a reputation for what? For dating and not committing. The media loves to create drama around my personal life. This clause was supposed to protect future business partners from getting caught up in tabloid nonsense. Sophia scrolled to Appendix C and nearly choked. $2 million? You're offering me $2 million to pretend to be your fiancé for 6 months. Plus, full access to Thunder Racing's upgrades, a penthouse apartment in Manhattan, and a complete makeover team, Dylan added quickly. Look, I know how this sounds, but my board of directors is meeting tomorrow morning. If they think I'm finally settling down, they'll approve the biggest tech expansion in company history. If they think I'm still the same playboy who can't commit to anything, your company goes under. Sophia finished. Exactly. And Thunder Racing loses its biggest investor. Sophia stared at the contract, her mind racing. $2 million would not only secure her own future, but could fund her dream of starting her own engineering firm. Plus, if Thunder Racing failed, Noah and the entire team would be out of jobs. You planned this? Sophia's voice rose an octave. Completely insane, Dylan agreed, but it could work. Think about it. You're brilliant, successful, and you clearly don't need anyone. You're perfect. Perfect for what? Being your fake girlfriend? Perfect for showing the board that I've finally met someone who challenges me. Someone who isn't impressed by my money or status. He leaned forward, his green eyes serious. Someone real. Sophia's phone suddenly buzzed with notifications. She glanced at the screen and gasped, "Oh my gosh, I have 847 Instagram follower requests. My DMs are full of interview requests from Ellen, Jimmy Fallon. And wait, is that Oprah?" Dylan's phone was buzzing too. My publicist is having a meltdown. She's been trying to get me married off for years for PR purposes. Your publicist wants you married? Billionaire bachelor gets old fast in the media. Billionaire family man sells magazines and builds trust with investors. He showed her his phone. Look at this. The screen displayed a text from someone named Harper. Dylan, this is brilliant. The engagement announcement has already increased stock prices by 12%. Don't screw this up. She's been trying to get me married off for years for PR purposes. Your stock went up because people think you're engaged. Stability breeds confidence in the market, Dylan explained. Married CEOs are seen as more responsible, more likely to make long-term decisions rather than impulsive ones. And you've been making impulsive decisions. Dylan's laugh was rueful. Don't screw this up. The month before that, I funded a project to build the world's largest chocolate fountain. Sophia stared at the message. Despite everything, Sophia found herself fighting a smile. A chocolate fountain. Don't laugh. It was for charity. How big? 60 feet tall. It took 3 weeks to clean up when it malfunctioned. Now Sophia was definitely trying not to laugh. Despite everything, Sophia found herself fighting a smile. There was chocolate everywhere. The fire department had to be called. It made the evening news. Dylan's expression was so mortified that Sophia couldn't hold back anymore. She burst out laughing. Dylan stared at her, surprised. Dylan's expression was so mortified that Sophia couldn't hold back anymore. I'm sorry. It's just... She wiped tears from her eyes. A 60-feet chocolate fountain? Really? When you put it like that, it does sound ridiculous. It sounds completely ridiculous and kind of amazing. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the absurdity of their situation faded. Here was this incredibly successful, powerful man who bought chocolate fountains when he was bored and saved race car drivers without thinking twice. So, Dylan said softly, Will you consider the contract? Sophia looked down at the tablet. Again. 6 months, $2 million, and the chance to save Thunder Racing. If I agree to this insanity, she said slowly, what exactly would I have to do? Attend some board meetings, a few charity galas, family dinners. Basically, act like we're a normal couple in love. Normal couples in love don't have contracts. Normal couples also don't meet by saving someone from a burning race car. Sophia had to admit he had a point. And after 6 months, we have a mutual decision to part ways, completely amicable. You go back to your life. I go back to mine, and everyone wins. What if people don't believe us? What if we're terrible at this fake relationship thing? Dylan's expression grew confident. Have you seen yourself in the mirror lately? You're gorgeous, brilliant, and you just risked your life to save someone. If anything, people won't believe that someone like you would settle for someone like me. Sophia felt her cheeks warm. That's not true, isn't it? You're an aerospace engineer who builds race cars. I buy chocolate fountains. You also just invested $500 million in renewable racing technology. You've been researching me. I research all our investors, Sophia said quickly. Though she realized that wasn't entirely true. I buy chocolate fountains. That's not true, isn't it? You're an aerospace engineer who builds race cars. She'd been curious about the mysterious billionaire who'd appeared out of nowhere to save Thunder Racing. This is my hotel. I have to meet with my publicist and lawyers in an hour to do damage control. He paused. Or to start planning the engagement announcement of the century. Sophia stared at the contract one more time. Can I have some time to think about it? Of course. But Sophia, he paused, or to start planning the engagement announcement of the century. Before she could respond, he was out of the limousine, leaving her alone with the contract and a head full of questions. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was Noah, her driver, calling from the hospital. You also just invested $500 million in renewable racing technology. They're saying you're engaged to Dylan Harper. Please tell me this is some kind of joke. Sophia looked at the contract in her hands, then at the reporters still gathered outside, then at the 1,247 new notifications on her phone. I honestly don't know anymore, Noah. I honestly don't know. 24 hours later, Sophia stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling mirror in the most expensive boutique in Beverly Hills, wondering how her life had spiraled so completely out of control. Darling, you simply must trust the process, exclaimed Valentina, the personal stylist Dylan had hired. She was a tiny woman with perfectly sculpted cheekbones and an Italian accent that seemed to get stronger whenever she was frustrated. This dress will make you look like a goddess. Sophia stared at her reflection. The dress in question was a floor-length emerald green gown with a plunging neckline that made her feel like she was wearing a very expensive napkin. I look like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's closet, Sophia protested. This isn't me. Exactly. Valentina clapped her hands together. We are creating the new you. The you that belongs on Dylan Harper's arm. This isn't me. We are creating the new you. I never had a secret crush on billionaires. Sophia muttered to herself. What was that, love? Called Theo, the British hairdresser who had been attacking her curls with various torture devices for the past 2 hours. Through the boutique's window, Sophia could see the small army of paparazzi that had been following her since yesterday morning. Her phone rang again. Dylan's name appeared on the screen. Hi, she answered, trying to keep the panic out of her voice. How's Operation Makeover going? Dylan's voice was amused. Please tell me Valentina hasn't tried to put you in anything with feathers. No feathers, but she's attempting to turn me into a completely different person. Sophia lowered her voice. Dylan, I can't do this. I don't belong in this world. Are you kidding? You're the smartest person I've ever met. You design engines that go 200 miles per hour. You saved a man's life yesterday. You absolutely belong wherever you want to belong. Despite her anxiety, Sophia felt a flutter of warmth at his words. Easy for you to say. You weren't born in a small town in Texas where the fanciest restaurant was the Dairy Queen. I was born in a trailer park in Ohio, Dylan said quietly. My mom worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. I didn't see the inside of a fancy restaurant until I was 25 and could afford it myself. Sophia stopped fidgeting with the dress. Really? Really? Everything I have I built from nothing. Just like you did. Before she could respond, Valentina burst back into the dressing room with an armload of accessories. Dylan, is that Dylan? She practically shrieked, grabbing the phone. Dylan, darling, your woman is being very difficult. She refuses to wear the Louboutins. Give me back my phone. Sophia reached for it, but Valentina danced away. She wants to wear these. These? Valentina held up Sophia's favorite pair of black flats with obvious disgust. Construction boots. They're not construction boots. They're comfortable flats. Dylan's laughter was audible, even from across the room. Valentina, let her wear whatever shoes she wants and give her back the phone. But Valentina, the stylist huffed and handed the phone back to Sophia. Thank you, Sophia said into the phone. Listen, the board meeting is in 3 hours. I know this is all overwhelming, but I need you to know that you don't have to change who you are. Thank you, Sophia said into the phone. This dress costs more than my car, which is exactly why it's perfect for tonight. Trust me. Sophia looked at herself in the mirror again. The dress was beautiful, even if it wasn't her usual style. And Dylan was right. She had built her career from nothing. She could handle one evening of playing pretend. Okay, she said, but I'm wearing my flats. Deal. I'll pick you up at 7. 2 hours later, Sophia was ready. Sort of. Theo had managed to tame her curls into an elegant updo. 2 hours later, Sophia was ready. And despite Valentina's protests, she felt more like herself in the flats. It was beautiful without being over the top. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dylan. Outside. Fair warning. There are approximately 200 photographers waiting. It was beautiful without being over the top. Trust me. News vans lined the block, and she could see camera crews setting up. Sophia peered through the boutique window and immediately regretted it. Valentina appeared beside her with a small evening bag. Remember, shoulders back, smile, and whatever you do, don't trip. Thanks for the pep talk. The boutique door opened and Dylan walked in. Sophia's breath caught. He was wearing a perfectly tailored black tuxedo that made his green eyes even more striking. His hair was styled, but not overdone. And when he smiled at her, she forgot about the cameras, the dress, and everything else. Wow, he said softly, you look incredible. I feel like I'm wearing a costume. The best costumes are the ones that help us become who we're meant to be. Before she could ask what he meant by that, he offered her his arm. Ready to face the circus? As ready as I'll ever be. They walked toward the door, and Sophia could see the photographers positioning themselves just as Dylan reached for the handle. She grabbed his arm. Wait, what if I mess this up? What if I say something wrong or trip? Or Dylan turned to face her fully, his hands gently resting on her shoulders. Sophia, you risked your life yesterday to save someone. You're brilliant, brave, and beautiful. All you have to do tonight is be yourself. Myself in a $2,000 dress. Yourself in whatever makes you feel confident. He leaned closer, and for a moment, Sophia thought he might kiss her. Instead, he whispered, just remember, we're supposedly crazy about each other. Think you can pretend to like me for a few hours? Looking into his eyes, Sophia realized that pretending to like Dylan Harper wasn't going to be the hard part. The hard part was going to be remembering that this was all fake. I think I can manage, she said. Dylan opened the door, and they stepped into the chaos. Camera flashes exploded like fireworks, and reporters shouted questions from every direction. Instead, he whispered, just remember, we're supposedly crazy about each other. I think I can manage, she said. We're very happy, he called out to the crowd. Dylan, Sophia, how does it feel to be engaged? When did you know she was the one? Sophia, what's it like dating America's most eligible bachelor? Dylan's arm tightened around her waist, and she could feel his confidence. They made it halfway to the waiting limousine when disaster struck. A particularly aggressive photographer stepped directly into Sophia's path, causing her to stumble. Her ankle twisted, and she would have fallen face first into the pavement if Dylan hadn't caught her. Are you okay? He asked, concern evident in his voice. My ankle. She winced. I think I twisted it. Without hesitation, Dylan swept her up into his arms, carrying her the rest of the way to the car. But we're late for dinner. Once they were safely in the limousine, Dylan gently set her down and immediately knelt to examine her ankle. Can you move it? He asked, his hands surprisingly gentle as he checked for swelling. It's not broken, Sophia said, touched by his concern. Just twist it. I'll be fine. We can postpone the dinner. Once they were safely in the limousine, Dylan gently set her down and immediately knelt to examine her ankle. No way. Didn't get dressed up like a princess just to go home. She smiled at him. Besides, my knight in shining armor already rescued me. Dylan's eyes met hers, and something shifted between them. For a moment, it didn't feel like acting. Your ankle really okay? He asked softly. It's perfect, she said, and realized she wasn't talking about her ankle anymore. The limousine pulled up to the most exclusive restaurant in Beverly Hills, where Dylan's entire board of directors was waiting to meet the woman who had supposedly captured his heart. "Ready for round two?" Dylan asked. Sophia looked at the restaurant, then at Dylan, then down at her slightly swollen ankle in her comfortable flats. "Bring it on," she said. The Chateau Marmont's private dining room felt like entering a lion's den dressed as a gazelle. 8 pairs of eyes turned toward Sophia and Dylan as they walked in, and she could practically feel the collective judgment weighing her down like a lead blanket. "Gentlemen, ladies." Dylan's voice was confident as he guided Sophia forward, his hand warm and reassuring on the small of her back. "I'd like you to meet Sofia Vargas, my fiancée." The word fiancé still sent a jolt through Sophia's system every time she heard it. 24 hours ago, her biggest worry was optimizing fuel efficiency for thunder racing. Now she was standing in front of some of the most powerful people in America, pretending to be in love with a man she'd known for exactly 36 hours. "Ms. Vargas," said a stern-looking woman with silver hair pulled back in a perfect shiny bun. "I'm Beatrice Langley, chairman of the board. We're very curious to meet the woman who finally convinced our Dylan to settle down." "Ms. I'm Beatrice Langley, chairman of the board. Dylan has told me so much about all of you," which was a complete lie. Dylan had spent their car ride giving her a rapid-fire briefing on each board member, but it had been like trying to drink from a fire hose. Has he now? This came from a man in his 60 seconds with a skeptical expression that suggested he could see right through their charade. "I'm Gregory Voss, CFO. Tell me, Ms. Vargas, how exactly did you two meet?" Dylan's hand tightened slightly on her back, a warning that this was the first test. "Actually," Sophia said, surprising herself with a genuine smile, "it was quite dramatic. I'm Gregory Voss, CFO. The racetrack?" Beatrice's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "How unexpected. Sophia is the chief engineer for thunder racing," Dylan interjected smoothly. Dylan had spent their car ride giving her a rapid-fire briefing on each board member, but it had been like trying to drink from a fire hose. MIT graduate, specializes in aerodynamic design and fuel efficiency systems, an engineer, mused a younger man with kind eyes. "I'm Ethan Sato, head of technology." "What kind of engineering exactly?" Finally, a question Sophia could answer honestly. "Automotive engineering with a focus on sustainable racing technology. I design engine systems that maximize performance while minimizing environmental impact." Ethan's expression brightened considerably. "Fascinating. We've been looking into sustainable technology investments. What's your opinion on hydrogen fuel cells versus electric batteries for high-performance applications?" For the next 10 minutes, Sophia found herself in an animated discussion about energy storage, conversion efficiency, and the future of clean transportation. She completely forgot about the fancy dress, the twisted ankle, and the fact that she was supposed to be acting like Dylan's love-struck fiancé. "The key is finding the sweet spot between energy density and charging speed," she explained, using her hands to illustrate her point. "Hydrogen gives you the range and quick refueling, but the infrastructure isn't there yet. Battery technology is advancing so rapidly that we might see solid-state lithium metal batteries that solve the charging problem within 5 years." "What about thermal management?" Ethan asked, leaning forward with interest. "Oh, that's actually one of my specialties. I developed a cooling system that uses phase change materials to maintain optimal battery temperature during high-stress racing conditions." She paused, suddenly aware that the entire table had gone quiet. Everyone was staring at her, some with surprise, others with what looked like respect. "I'm sorry," she said, her cheeks flushing. She paused, suddenly aware that the entire table had gone quiet. "Don't apologize," said Dylan, and when she looked at him, his expression was one of genuine admiration. She paused, suddenly aware that the entire table had gone quiet. "That was incredible." "Yes, well, it's certainly refreshing to meet someone so passionate about their work." She paused, studying Sophia carefully. "Tell me, dear, what are your intentions regarding Dylan?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sophia felt Dylan tense beside her. This was the moment where she could either nail their performance or blow their entire charade. "My intentions," Sophia repeated slowly, buying herself time to think. She looked around the table, then at Dylan, whose green eyes were watching her intently. "I suppose my intention is to make him happy." "How charmingly simple," Beatrice said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "And how does one make Dylan Harper happy?" "He's quite particular about his needs. There was something in Beatrice's tone that set Sophia's teeth on edge. It was condescending, like she was talking to a child who didn't understand how the adult world worked. "I wouldn't say I make him happy," Sophia said, her voice growing stronger. "That's not really how healthy relationships work, is it? I'm not responsible for his happiness any more than he's responsible for mine. We make each other better. We challenge each other to grow." She felt Dylan's hand move to gently touch hers under the table. "We complement each other," she continued, warming to the subject. "He pushes me to take risks I wouldn't normally take, and I keep him grounded when his ideas get a little too ambitious." "Ambitious how?" asked Gregory Voss. Sophia glanced at Dylan, who nodded encouragingly. "Well, for example, last month he wanted to fund a project to build the world's largest chocolate fountain for charity." Several board members exchanged looks. I pointed out that maybe we should start with something smaller and work our way up. You know, prove the concept before going for the world record. "And did he listen?" Beatrice asked. "Eventually, after the 60-foot prototype malfunctioned and required the fire department, the table erupted in surprised laughter. Even Beatrice's stern expression cracked slightly. "You knew about the chocolate fountain?" Ethan asked Dylan, grinning. "She researches all of Thunder Racing's investors very thoroughly," Dylan said, squeezing Sophia's hand. "It's one of the things I love about her. She's always prepared." The word love sent another jolt through Sophia, even though she knew it was part of their act. "Speaking of Thunder Racing," said a woman who had been quiet until now, "I'm Olivia Grant, head of strategic investments. We're very interested in the sustainable racing market. What's your 5-year projection for the industry?" And just like that, Sophia was back in her element. For the next hour, the conversation flowed between business, technology, and surprisingly personal stories. She learned that Ethan had 3 kids and coached Little League on weekends, that Olivia had started her career as a mechanical engineer before moving into finance, and that even stern Beatrice had a weakness for rescue dogs. "So, you have 7 Great Danes?" Sophia asked in amazement. 8, actually. I just adopted another one last week." Beatrice's face softened as she talked about her dogs. "People think they're intimidating, but they're really just giant teddy bears." "That's beautiful," Sophia said sincerely. "I've always wanted a dog, but my work schedule is crazy." "What will you do about that now?" Olivia asked. "I imagine being engaged to Dylan will change your priorities significantly." The question caught Sophia off guard. In all their planning and contract negotiations, they hadn't really discussed how this fake relationship would affect her actual career. She started, then stopped. She looked at Dylan, who was watching her carefully. "Sophia's career is incredibly important to her," Dylan said smoothly. "And it's important to me, too. I would never ask her to give up something she's passionate about. And it's important to me, too. But surely you'll want to start a family eventually," Beatrice pressed. Sophia felt the weight of 8 pairs of eyes on her again. This was dangerous territory. They hadn't discussed fake future plans beyond the 6-month contract. "We've talked about it," she said carefully, "but we're both focused on our careers right now. There's no rush." "Dylan's not getting any younger," Gregory pointed out. "He's 35. Most men his age with his resources are thinking seriously about legacy, about passing something on to the next generation." "Are you saying I should be looking for a younger model?" Dylan asked with a laugh. But Sophia could hear the edge in his voice. "I'm saying," Gregory continued, "that this board has a responsibility to ensure that our CEO is making decisions that benefit the long-term stability of the company. Personal stability often reflects professional stability." The mood in the room had shifted. What had started as a pleasant dinner was beginning to feel like an interrogation. "I understand your concerns," Sophia said, her engineering mind kicking into problem-solving mode, "but I think you're looking at this backwards." "How so?" Beatrice asked. "You're worried that Dylan's personal life affects his professional judgment, but look at what he's accomplished in the last year. The sustainable energy investments, the expansion into green technology, the partnership with Thunder Racing. These aren't impulsive decisions. They're smart, forward-thinking moves that position Harper Enterprises as a leader in the clean energy revolution." She leaned forward, forgetting to be nervous. "Dylan doesn't need someone to make him stable. He needs someone who understands that his vision for the future is exactly what this company should be pursuing. Someone who can help him execute that vision." "And you think you're that someone?" Gregory challenged. "I think," Sophia said, meeting his gaze steadily, "that I'm someone who designs engines that go 200 miles per hour while producing 0 emissions. If that's not thinking about the future, I don't know what is." Dylan's hand found hers again, under the table, and this time, she was pretty sure the gesture was more than just acting. She has a point, Ethan said thoughtfully. The sustainable racing technology we've invested in through Thunder Racing has already exceeded projected returns by 17%, Olivia added. And the media attention from today's announcement has increased our stock value significantly. Beatrice was studying Sophia with new interest. You really believe in Dylan's vision for the company? I believe, Sophia said honestly, that companies who don't adapt to sustainable technology will be obsolete within a decade. Dylan sees that he's not being impulsive, he's being smart. Even the chocolate fountain, Beatrice asked with a slight smile. Okay, the chocolate fountain was maybe a little impulsive, Sophia admitted, and the table laughed again. But even that came from a good place. He wanted to do something fun and charitable. The execution needed work, but the heart was right. Dylan was looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. It was intense and surprised, and something else she didn't want to identify. Well, Beatrice said, setting down her wine glass, this has been enlightening. Does that mean I passed the test? Sophia asked before she could stop herself. Beatrice's laugh was genuine this time. My dear, you passed the test the moment you started talking about thermal management systems. I haven't seen Ethan that excited about technology since we invested in virtual reality. So, you approve of our engagement? Dylan asked. I approve, Beatrice said slowly. I haven't seen Ethan that excited about technology since we invested in virtual reality. She paused, looking directly at Sophia. I also approve of the fact that she clearly doesn't need your money, which suggests her feelings for you are genuine. Sophia felt her cheeks warm. If only Beatrice knew how complicated the genuine feelings situation really was. Thank you, she said simply. The dinner wound down with lighter conversation about upcoming charity events, vacation plans, and Olivia's daughter's upcoming wedding. By the time they were saying their goodbyes, Sophia felt like she'd run a marathon. Ms. Vargas, Beatrice said as they were leaving, I hope we'll see you at the Children's Hospital Gala next weekend. It's one of our most important events of the year. I wouldn't miss it, Sophia replied, though she had no idea what she was agreeing to. Outside the restaurant, the paparazzi were still waiting, but their questions seemed less aggressive now, more like they were documenting a confirmed fairy tale rather than hunting for scandal. How does it feel to have the board's approval? One reporter called out. We're very happy, Dylan replied, pulling Sophia close as they walked to their car. Once they were safely in the limousine, Sophia let out a long breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. How did I do? She asked. Dylan turned to look at her, his expression serious. Once they were safely in the limousine, Sophia let out a long breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The way you handled Beatrice's questions, the way you talked about the company's future, you were amazing. I was terrified the entire time. You couldn't tell. You looked like you belonged there. Did I? Because I felt like a fraud. Dylan was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? I've brought exactly 3 women to meet the board in the past 10 years. All of them were what my publicist called appropriate choices, socialites, daughters of business partners, women who knew how to play the game, and Beatrice tore them apart. She had them in tears within the first hour. He shook his head. But you held your own. You challenged them right back. You made them respect you. Is that good or bad for our fake engagement? Dylan's smile faded slightly. Our fake engagement. They rode in silence for a while, the city lights blurring past the tinted windows. Sophia's ankle was throbbing, and she was emotionally exhausted. But she also felt something she hadn't expected. Proud. She had walked into that room as an imposter, and walked out as someone the board of directors actually respected. Dylan, she said softly, what you said earlier about healthy relationships and making each other better, did you mean that? He turned to look at her, his green eyes reflecting the passing streetlights. Every word, even though this is all fake. Dylan was quiet for so long that Sophia thought he wasn't going to answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. What if it doesn't have to be? Sophia stared at Dylan in the dim light of the limousine, his question hanging between them like a live wire. What if it doesn't have to be fake? Her heart was doing something irregular that had nothing to do with the adrenaline from facing the board of directors. Dylan, she started, then stopped. What could she say? That she'd been thinking the exact same thing? That somewhere between the chocolate fountain story and defending his business vision to 8 intimidating strangers, she'd started forgetting this was all an act? Her phone buzzed, breaking the moment, then buzzed again and again. Sorry, she said, pulling it out. The screen was flooded with notifications. Oh no, what is it? Sophia scrolled through the messages, her stomach sinking with each one. It's my family. My mom, my dad, my 3 brothers, my grandmother, my cousin Mia, who I haven't talked to in 2 years. She looked up at Dylan. They all know what exactly? That I'm apparently engaged to you. My mom is asking why she had to find out from the news that her daughter is marrying a billionaire. My dad wants to know if you're good enough for his little girl. My brother Luca is asking if you can get him tickets to the Lakers game. And my grandmother. Sophia's eyes widened as she read the message. My grandmother is planning our wedding. Dylan leaned over to read the phone screen. Your grandmother works fast. You don't understand. When Abuela Sofia decides to plan something, it happens. She once organized my cousin's quinceañera in 3 days because the original venue canceled. You don't understand. A horse-drawn carriage for a quinceañera in downtown San Antonio. Sofia scrolled through more messages. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What now? She's already called the church and the caterer, and apparently my Tio Carlos, who owns a mariachi band. Sofia looked at Dylan in panic. She's asking what your favorite Mexican dishes are so she can plan the engagement party menu. Dylan's eyes widened. Engagement party next weekend. She's inviting the entire extended Vargas family. That's approximately 47 people. Not counting the neighbors who will definitely crash the party. 47 people, including my cousin Aria, who will definitely try to interrogate you about your intentions, and my brother Marco, who once made my high school boyfriend cry just by asking him about his career plans, and my great-aunt Mira, who will read your palm and tell you if you're going to make me happy. Dylan ran his hands through his hair. This is getting complicated. Complicated? Dylan, my family doesn't do anything small. When I got my engineering degree, my mom threw a party that lasted until 3:00 inches the morning and somehow involved a piñata shaped like a car engine. When my brother got engaged, the celebration lasted 3 days. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed Mama. I have to answer this, Sofia said apologetically. If I don't, she'll call every hour until I do. She swiped to answer. Hola, Mama. Isabella Vargas. Her mother's voice was loud enough that Dylan could hear every word. Mama, I can explain. Explain. What is there to explain? You're engaged to a billionaire, and you didn't tell your own mother. Mom, please, it's complicated. Complicated. Love is not complicated. Sofia, love is simple. You meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, you have babies. What's complicated about that? Sofia met Dylan's amused eyes. Well, actually, I've already talked to Padre Lopez about the church. He can do the wedding in 2 months if we book now. I'm thinking August before the heat gets too bad. Your dress. We need to start shopping immediately. A woman your age doesn't have time to waste. My age? Mom, I'm 28. Exactly. Your cousin Bella was married at 25 and already has 2 babies. Beautiful babies. Sofia, when do I get grandchildren? Dylan was clearly trying not to laugh. Sofia covered the phone. This is not funny, she whispered. It's a little funny, he whispered back. Mom, Sofia said into the phone. Dylan and I haven't even discussed. Dylan? Is he there? I want to talk to him. Sofia's eyes went wide with horror. No, Mom, he's not. Dylan gently took the phone from her hands. Hello, Mrs. Vargas. This is Dylan. Sofia tried to grab the phone back, but Dylan held it out of reach. Yes, ma'am. I'm very happy to meet you, too. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I don't mind at all that you're planning an engagement party. Mexican food. I love Mexican food. Mole poblano sounds delicious. Yes, ma'am. I understand that Sofia's happiness is the most important thing. Yes, ma'am. Si, señora. I promise to take good care of her. No, ma'am. I don't expect her to quit her job. Yes, ma'am. I think smart women are very attractive. Claro que sí. I would be honored to meet the whole family. When he finally hung up, Sofia was staring at him in amazement. Did you just agree to attend my family's engagement party? I did. And apparently I'm bringing dessert. Dylan, you don't understand what you've gotten yourself into. My family is a lot. I'm looking forward to it. No, you're not. You're going to walk into my grandmother's house, and there will be 3 generations of Vargas women wanting to know everything about you. They're going to ask about your childhood, your business, your intentions, your health history, whether you want children, how many children, what you're going to name the children, Sofia. And that's before they start the stories about me. They're going to tell you about every embarrassing thing I did as a kid, show you my quinceañera photos, and my tia Lena will probably drag out the baby pictures where I'm naked in a bathtub. Sofia, And then there's the food. They're going to feed you until you can't move. My grandmother considers it a personal insult if you don't eat at least 3 helpings of everything. And there will be like 15 different dishes. Sophia. Dylan took her hands in his. Breathe. She took a shaky breath. This is insane. A week ago, my biggest problem was a fuel injection system that kept overheating. Now I'm fake engaged to a billionaire who just promised my mother he'd bring tres leches cake to a party for 47 people. Actually, I promised flan. Your mom was very specific about the flan. You promised flan, Dylan. Do you even know what flan is? I'll figure it out. How hard can it be? Sophia stared at him. You're serious about this? Dead serious. Why? Dylan was quiet for a moment, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her hand. Because when you were talking to the board tonight, defending my business decisions and explaining thermal management systems with your eyes all lit up, I realized something. What? I realized that I've been looking for someone like you my entire life. Someone who challenges me. Someone who believes in what I'm trying to build. Someone who isn't impressed by my money, but is impressed by my ideas. Sophia's heart did that irregular thing again. Dylan, I know this started as a business arrangement. I know we have a contract and a timeline and exit strategies. But what if we didn't need any of that? What if we just saw where this goes? The limousine had stopped moving. Sophia realized they were parked outside a beautiful high-rise building in downtown Beverly Hills. Is this your hotel? She asked. It's my apartment building. I bought the penthouse last year. He paused. Would you like to come up just to talk? I have the best view in the city, and I make excellent coffee. Sophia looked at the building, then at Dylan, then at her phone, which was buzzing again with messages from her family. I should probably go home, she said. I have to work tomorrow, and this whole fake engagement thing is already taking over my life. Right, Dylan said. But she could see the disappointment in his eyes. Of course, I'll have the driver take you home. But as he reached for the intercom to give the driver directions, Sophia found herself grabbing his hand. Actually, she said, surprising herself, I would like to see this view. And I could really use some excellent coffee. Of course, I'll have the driver take you home. Really? Really? But Dylan. She met his eyes seriously. If we're going to do this, if we're going to see where this goes, we need to be honest with each other. No more contracts, no more acting, no more fake anything. Deal, he said immediately. Starting now. Starting now. They rode the elevator to the 32nd floor in comfortable silence, their hands still intertwined. When the doors opened directly into Dylan's apartment, Sophia gasped. The space was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of Los Angeles. Modern furniture that managed to be both elegant and comfortable, and art that looked like it belonged in a museum. This is incredible, she said, walking toward the windows. The city stretched out below them like a carpet of lights. I'm glad you like it, Dylan said, joining her at the window. I designed most of it myself. You designed this? Architecture was my first major in college before I switched to business. He still loved designing spaces. He pointed to different areas of the apartment. I wanted it to feel like home, not like a showpiece. It does feel like home, Sophia said, and she meant it. Despite the obvious expense, there was something warm and lived-in about the space. Books were scattered on the coffee table. A half-finished chess game sat on a side table, and she could see family photos on the kitchen counter. Coffee? Dylan asked. Actually, could I just sit for a minute? It's been a really long day. Of course, Sophia kicked off her shoes. Her feet were killing her, despite the comfortable flats, and curled up on the sofa. Dylan sat beside her, leaving space, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. What made you want to invest in thunder racing? Really? Not the official business reason, but the real reason. Dylan was quiet for a moment, looking out at the city lights. My father. Your father? He was a mechanic, worked in a small garage in Akron, Ohio. Dylan's voice grew soft. He always dreamed of building race cars, but he never had the opportunity or the resources. He died when I was 15. Heart attack right there in the garage, working on a 1967 Mustang that someone had brought in. I'm so sorry. He would have loved thunder racing, the engineering, the innovation, the fact that you're making race cars that don't hurt the environment. Dylan turned to look at her. When I saw what you were building, I thought about him, about how proud he would have been to see someone taking racing in that direction. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. That's beautiful. It's also why I'm so bad at the practical stuff. I get excited about an idea, and I want to fund it immediately, even if it's a 60-feet chocolate fountain. The chocolate fountain wasn't necessarily a bad idea. The execution just needed work. You really think so? I think your heart was in the right place. And honestly, a smaller version could actually work really well at charity events. Kids love chocolate fountains, and honestly, a smaller version could actually work really well at charity events. You're probably the only person who's ever said anything positive about the chocolate fountain disaster. I'm an engineer. I see problems as design challenges, not failures. Is that how you see me? As a design challenge? Sophia turned to face him fully, tucking her legs under her. I see you as someone who has big ideas and a good heart, but who maybe needs someone to help with the practical implementation, and I see you as someone who's brilliant and passionate and beautiful, but who maybe needs someone to encourage her to take risks and dream bigger. They were sitting closer now, Sophia realized, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in Dylan's green eyes, close enough to notice that he had a small scar on his chin. How did you get that scar? She asked, reaching up to touch it gently. Fell off my bike when I was 8. I was trying to impress a girl. Did it work? No, she said. I was showing off and walked away. Her loss. I don't know. Maybe. She was right. Maybe I was showing off. Maybe. But sometimes showing off is just another way of saying you care enough to try. Dylan's hand came up to cover hers, still resting on his face. Sophia. Yeah. I know. We agreed to be honest with each other starting now. We did. Then I need to tell you something. Okay. This isn't fake for me anymore. I don't know when it happened. Okay. Maybe when you argued with the board about sustainable technology, or when you talked to my mom in Spanish, but somewhere along the way, this became real. Or maybe it was when you risked your life to save Noah yesterday. Dylan, I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other for 2 days. I know this whole situation is insane and complicated, and probably the worst foundation for a relationship in history. It really is, she agreed softly. But I also know that I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you. And if you're willing, if you want to try this for real, not because of a contract or because the board expects it or because your grandmother is planning an engagement party, but because you feel something too. He trailed off, waiting for her answer. Sophia looked into his eyes, and for the first time since this whole crazy adventure began, she was completely honest with herself. She was falling for Dylan Harper, not the billionaire, not the CEO, not the man whose engagement to her had increased his company's stock value by 12%. She was falling for the man who carried her when she hurt her ankle, who charmed her mother in broken Spanish, who invested in sustainable racing technology because it reminded him of his father. I feel something too, she whispered. Yeah. I think I started feeling it when you jumped that barrier to help me save Noah. No one does that, unless they're either crazy or incredibly brave. Which one am I? Both, probably. Dylan laughed, leaning his forehead against hers. So, what do we do now? I don't know. This is all new territory for me. I've never dated anyone famous. I've never had paparazzi following me around. And I've definitely never had to attend charity galas or meet intimidating boards of directors. You handled the board perfectly tonight. I was terrified. You didn't show it. Good. Because I'll probably be terrified again at the next thing. There will definitely be a next thing. Probably several next things. Great, Sophia said, but she was smiling. But, Dylan said, his thumb tracing her cheek, we'll figure it out together. No more contracts, no more timelines, no more exit strategies. Just us figuring it out as we go. Just us, Sophia agreed, with the occasional input from your 47 family members. 47 family members who are planning our engagement party. Our real engagement party now. Sophia's eyes widened. Oh no. If this is real now, that means the party is real. Which means my grandmother is really planning a real engagement party for our real relationship that started 2 days ago. Is that a problem? Dylan, you don't understand. My family doesn't do anything halfway. If we show up to this party as a real couple, they're going to start planning the actual wedding. My mom will have the church booked. My tia will start making the dress, and my grandmother will begin interviewing mariachi bands. And that's bad because Sophia stared at him because we've known each other for 2 days. So, my grandparents met on a Tuesday and were married the following Saturday. They were together for 53 years. That was different. That was the 1,940 seconds. People moved faster then. Maybe people moved faster because they knew what they wanted when they found it. Sophia's heart was doing that irregular thing again, but stronger now. Are you saying you know what you want? I'm saying, Dylan said, moving closer until his lips were almost touching hers. that I've never been more sure of anything in my life, even more sure than the chocolate fountain, especially more sure than the chocolate fountain." And then he kissed her. And it wasn't for the cameras or the board of directors or her family or anyone else. It was just for them. And it was perfect. When they finally broke apart, Sophia was breathless. "So," she said, "I guess we're really doing this. I guess we are. My family is going to be so excited. Good. I want them to like me." "Oh, they'll like you. Good. What's the problem?" Sophia grinned. "The problem is that once they like you, you're family. And Vargas family members are for life. There's no return policy." Dylan's smile was soft and sure. "Good thing I'm not looking for a return policy." Outside, the city of Los Angeles sparkled below them, full of possibility and promise. Dylan's smile was soft and sure. Whatever it was, they'd figure it out together, even if it involved 47 family members, a mariachi band, and enough Mexican food to feed half of California. 1 week later, Dylan Harper stood in his pristine Beverly Hills kitchen at 6:30 a.m., surrounded by what could only be described as a culinary disaster of epic proportions. Eggshells floated in a bowl of what was supposed to be caramel sauce, but looked more like burnt motor oil. Cream was splattered across his marble countertops like abstract art, and in the center of it all sat his 4th attempt at homemade flan, a sad, lopsided custard that had somehow managed to both burn on the bottom and remain liquid on top. "This is impossible," he muttered, reading the recipe on his phone for the 100th time. How can something with only 5 ingredients be this complicated? His phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "How's the flan coming?" "Remember, Abuela Sofia has been making it for 60 years, so no pressure." Dylan took a photo of his latest disaster and sent it back with the message, "I think I need backup." Her response was immediate. "Oh no, don't panic. I'm coming over." 20 minutes later, Sophia arrived at his apartment, carrying 2 grocery bags and wearing a sundress that made Dylan temporarily forget about his culinary failures. It had been a week since their real first kiss, and he still got a little breathless every time he saw her. "Okay, let me assess the damage," she said, surveying his kitchen with the same analytical eye she used to examine race car engines. "Dylan, what exactly did you do to this poor kitchen?" "I followed the recipe exactly. I measured everything. I used the timer. I even bought the expensive vanilla extract." Sophia picked up the empty box of eggs. "How many eggs did you use?" "The recipe called for 6 eggs, and I used 6 eggs." "Dylan." Sophia picked up the empty box of eggs. "How many eggs did you use?" "The recipe called for 6 eggs." "Right. This is a 12-egg carton, so I used half of them." Dylan looked at the empty carton, then at Sophia, then back at the carton. "But you used the whole carton. You used 12 eggs in a recipe that calls for 6. That would explain why it's more like egg soup than custard." Sophia burst out laughing. "You doubled the eggs, but not the other ingredients. I thought the recipe seemed a little liquidy." "Oh, honey." Sophia kissed his cheek. "No wonder it's a disaster. Come on, let's start over. But this time, I'm supervising." For the next 2 hours, they worked side by side in Dylan's kitchen. Sophia taught him how to properly caramelize sugar without burning it. Low heat, patience, and constant stirring. How to strain the custard mixture to remove lumps. "See these bubbles? Those are your enemy." And how to tell when flan was properly set. "It should jiggle like good flan." "You're a really good teacher," Dylan said as they waited for their 3rd attempt to finish baking. "I'm a good engineer. Teaching people complex processes is part of the job." "Is that what this is? A complex process?" "Dylan, you're a billionaire CEO who can negotiate multi-million-dollar deals in 3 languages, but you can't follow a recipe. Yes, this is a complex process for you." "Fair point." While the flan cooled, they sat on Dylan's balcony drinking coffee and watching the city wake up below them. "Are you nervous about today?" Sophia asked. "Terrified," Dylan admitted. "I've given presentations to world leaders, but the thought of meeting your entire family has me more nervous than I've ever been in my life." "Why?" "Because they matter to you, and because if they don't like me, they'll hurt you," Sophia said confidently. "Trust me, my family loves anyone who makes me happy. And you make me very happy, even when I destroy your grandmother's sacred flan recipe." "It shows you're trying." Dylan took her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Sophia, can I ask you something?" "Always. A week ago, if someone had told you that you'd be fake, engaged to a stranger, and then fall in love with him for real in less than 7 days, what would you have said?" I would have said they were completely insane. And now? Sophia was quiet for a moment, looking out at the city. Now, I think maybe the best things in life are completely insane. I mean, what are the odds? You investing in thunder racing at the exact moment I needed to save Noah, both of us jumping that barrier at the same time. That photographer catching us at exactly the right angle. It does seem like a lot of coincidences. Or maybe, Sophia said, squeezing his hand, maybe when something is meant to happen, the universe conspires to make it happen. You believe in fate now. I believe in us. 2 hours later, they were driving through the streets of East LA in Dylan's Tesla, the successfully completed flan, their 5th attempt. Carefully secured in the back seat, Sophia was giving Dylan last-minute coaching on her family members. Remember, my dad is going to ask you about your intentions. Just be honest and respectful. My mom is going to try to feed you everything in sight. Say yes to at least 2 helpings of everything, or she'll think you don't like her cooking. My brother Luca is going to ask you about sports. Just admit you don't know much about football and ask him to explain. He loves that. Just admit you don't know much about football and ask him to explain. What about your grandmother? Abuela Sofia is the family matriarch. She's going to test you. But if she likes you, you're golden. How will I know if she likes me? She'll start planning our wedding. And if she doesn't like me, she'll start planning your funeral. Dylan's eyes widened. You're joking, right? Mostly. They pulled up to a modest house in a neighborhood that was clearly the heart of a close-knit community. The small front yard was already filled with cars, and Dylan could hear music and laughter coming from the backyard. This is it, Sophia said. Are you ready? No, but let's do it anyway. The moment they walked through the front door, Dylan was enveloped in warmth, noise, and the most incredible smells he'd ever experienced. The house was packed with people of all ages, from toddlers running around to elderly relatives holding court in the living room. Everyone seemed to be talking at once in a mixture of English and Spanish that somehow created a perfect symphony of family chaos. Mia, a woman who could only be Sophia's mother, appeared as if by magic, pulling Sophia into a fierce hug before turning expectant eyes to Dylan. Mom, this is Dylan. Dylan, this is my mother, Isabella Vargas. Mrs. Vargas, Dylan said, extending his hand. It's such a pleasure to finally meet you in person. Instead of shaking his hand, Isabella pulled him into a hug that nearly knocked him off his feet. Ay, mijo. Sophia, you didn't tell me he was so handsome. Mom. Sophia's cheeks flushed pink. And tall. Good. I was worried you'd bring home another short one like your cousin Mia did. That poor boy needs a stepladder to kiss her. Isabella, let the boy breathe, said a deep voice. Sophia's father appeared, a tall man with kind eyes and a firm handshake. I'm Victor Vargas. Welcome to our home. Thank you, sir. I brought flan, Dylan said, holding up the dessert carrier. Victor's eyebrows rose. You made flan? I tried to make flan. Sophia had to supervise the final attempt. Smart boy. Victor nodded approvingly. A man who admits when he needs help is a man worth knowing. Before Dylan could respond, he was swept into the chaos of introductions. There was Luca, Sophia's oldest brother, who immediately started explaining the Raiders' prospects for the upcoming season. Nico, the middle brother, who was apparently a firefighter and wanted to know if Dylan had ever considered the importance of fire safety in high-rise buildings. Mia, the cousin who had crashed the party with her short boyfriend in tow, wanted to know if Dylan had any single billionaire friends. Mia? Sophia scolded. What? I'm just asking for a friend. You don't have any single friends. I could make some. And then there was Abuela Sofia. She sat in the place of honor, a beautiful carved wooden chair in the corner of the living room like a queen holding court. She was tiny, probably not even 5 feet tall, but she radiated the kind of authority that made everyone else in the room defer to her. When Dylan was finally brought over for introductions, the entire room seemed to quiet down. Abuela, Sophia said softly. This is Dylan. Dylan found himself face to face with the most penetrating dark eyes he'd ever seen. Abuela, Sophia said softly. This is Dylan. Abuela Sofia studied him for what felt like an eternity, taking in everything from his carefully chosen casual clothes, jeans, and a button-down shirt. Sophia's suggestion to his nervous smile. So, you're the boy who thinks he's good enough for my granddaughter. I'm the boy who hopes to be worthy of her, Dylan replied honestly. Every day. Abuela Sofia's expression didn't change. You made flan. I tried to make flan. It took 5 attempts, and Sophia's supervision. Why flan? Because Mrs. Vargas mentioned it was your specialty, and I wanted to show respect for your family's traditions. And you failed 4 times. Yes, ma'am. But you kept trying. Yes, ma'am. Sophia is worth failing for as many times as it takes. For another long moment, Abuela Sophia studied him. Then, slowly, her stern expression cracked into a smile. "Bring me this flan," she commanded. "Let's see if the fifth time was the charm." The flan was brought with great ceremony. Abuela Sophia took a small bite, chewed thoughtfully, and considered. The entire room held its breath. "It's not terrible," she finally pronounced. A cheer went up from the assembled family members. "High praise," Sophia whispered to Dylan. "She once told my tia Lena that her flan was acceptable, and Tia cried tears of joy. What does not terrible mean then? It means you passed the first test. There are more tests. Oh, honey, the day is young." And indeed, the tests came fast and furious. Dylan found himself playing dominoes with three uncles who spoke rapid-fire Spanish and seemed to have their own complex system of rules. He was recruited for a game of football in the backyard with a dozen cousins ranging in age from 8 to 30. He was cornered by Sophia's tia Lena, not to be confused with her mother, also Isabella, who read his palm and declared that he had a good heart but stubborn hands. "What do stubborn hands mean?" he asked Sophia during a brief break. "I have no idea. But tia Lena is never wrong about these things." The food was incredible and endless. Every time Dylan finished something on his plate, someone would appear to refill it. He ate tamales that melted in his mouth, carnitas that were perfectly seasoned, rice and beans that somehow tasted like they'd been simmering for hours, and at least 6 different salsas that ranged from mild to, "Why can I not feel my tongue anymore?" "How do you say delicious in Spanish?" he asked Sophia, after tasting her aunt's mole poblano. "Delicioso. Esto es delicioso." Dylan called out to the aunt, who beamed, and immediately brought him a second helping. "You're a natural," Sophia laughed. "She's been trying to get my brother Luca to eat her mole for 20 years. Why won't he eat it? He says it's too spicy. It's not that spicy. You say that now? Wait until you try to eat ice cream later." As the afternoon wore on, Dylan found himself relaxing into the warm chaos of the Vargas family. These people were loud, opinionated, and completely overwhelming. But they were also kind, generous, and fiercely protective of each other. He could see where Sophia got her strength, her work ethic, and her absolute loyalty to the people she cared about. "You're doing great," she whispered during a brief moment when they found themselves alone in the kitchen. "Your family is incredible. They like you. I can tell." "How can you tell?" "Because my cousin Aria hasn't tried to interrogate you yet. When she doesn't like someone, she corners them within the first hour and makes them cry. Maybe she's just waiting for the right moment. Maybe, but I don't think so. Look around. You're part of the chaos now. That's how we show acceptance." Dylan looked around the kitchen where he was apparently now in charge of stirring the rice, while Sophia's mother directed 3 different cooking operations, and 2 of her brothers debated the merits of different hot sauce brands. She was right. He felt like part of the family. "Dylan," called Luca from the living room. "Come settle an argument. Nico says the Lakers are going to make the playoffs this year, but I think he's delusional." "Dylan," called Luca from the living room. "Good luck. They've been having the same argument for 15 years. As Dylan headed back to the living room, Sophia's phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at it and frowned. "Everything okay?" asked her mother, noticing her expression. "It's just weird. Brooke Tanaka from Sports Illustrated wants to do an interview. She says there are some questions about Dylan's business dealings that she wants to ask me about." "What kind of questions?" "She won't say, just that it's important and time-sensitive." Isabella frowned. "Sophia, that doesn't sound good. I'm sure it's nothing. Probably just follow-up questions about the engagement." But even as she said it, Sophia felt a knot forming in her stomach. Brooke Tanaka was the photographer who had first announced their engagement. Why would she be asking about Dylan's business dealings now? In the living room, Dylan was holding his own in the Lakers' debate. Apparently, his investment in the team's new training facility gave him some credibility. When his own phone buzzed, he glanced at it and saw a text from his publicist, Harper. "Call me immediately. We have a problem." He glanced at it and saw a text from his publicist, Harper. "Call me immediately." He dialed Harper's number and she answered on the first ring. "Dylan, where are you?" "I'm at Sophia's family engagement party." "What's wrong?" "There's a story breaking. Someone leaked information about the Harper Enterprises expansion, plans to the Wall Street Journal. They're claiming you used insider information from the Thunder Racing Partnership to make investment decisions." Dylan felt the blood drain from his face. "That's not true." "I know it's not true." "You know it's not true, but the story is already online, and it's spreading fast. The headline is, Billionaires' Fake Engagement, a cover for insider trading." Fake engagement. Dylan's voice was barely above a whisper. Someone leaked the original contract. The one with the PR contingency clause. Dylan, they have copies of the fake engagement agreement. Dylan closed his eyes. How bad is it? Bad. The SEC is already asking questions. The board is in emergency session, and there are news vans headed to your location as we speak. Through the patio door, Dylan could see Sophia laughing at something her cousin had said, completely oblivious to the storm that was about to hit them. How long do I have? Maybe 10 minutes before they arrive. Dylan, you need to get out of there and get to the office immediately. We're going into full crisis mode. I can't just leave. This is Sophia's family. Dylan, if you don't handle this immediately, you'll lose everything. The company, the board position, possibly your freedom if the SEC decides to pursue criminal charges. Dylan looked through the window at Sophia, surrounded by her loving, chaotic family, completely unaware that their perfect afternoon was about to be destroyed. I'll be right there, he said quietly. He hung up and stood on the patio for a moment, trying to figure out how to explain this to Sophia, how to tell her family that their celebration was about to turn into a media circus, how to protect the people who had just welcomed him with such open arms. Dylan. Sophia appeared beside him, concern in her eyes. You look like you've seen a ghost. What's wrong, Sophia? He looked at her beautiful, trusting face and felt his heart break. I have to go. What? Why? Did something happen with work? There's a story breaking about us. About the contract. About everything. Sophia's face went white. What kind of story? The bad kind. The SEC is involved. There are news vans coming here. News vans? Dylan. My family. I know. I'm so sorry. News vans? Dylan. My family. I'm coming with you. No, you should stay here. Protect your family. Don't you dare, Sophia said fiercely. Don't you dare try to handle this alone. We're in this together, remember? No more contracts. No more acting. No more fake anything. Dylan stared at her. This incredible woman who was willing to stand by him even as his world crumbled around them. Together, he said, they went back inside to find the party in full swing. Completely unaware of the approaching storm, Dylan found himself facing the hardest thing he'd ever had to do. Telling these wonderful people who had welcomed him like family that he had to take their beloved granddaughter, daughter, niece, cousin into a scandal that could destroy both their lives. Family? Sophia called out, and the room gradually quieted. Dylan and I need to leave. There's a work emergency. Work emergency? Luca frowned. On Saturday? What kind of work emergency? Asked Victor Sr., his father's protective instincts clearly activated. The kind, said Abuela Sofia quietly, that brings news vans to family parties. Everyone turned to look at her in surprise. Abuela, how did you Sofia started? I've been alive for 83 years, mija. I know the look of a man whose past is catching up with him. She studied Dylan with those penetrating dark eyes. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Dylan looked around the room at all these faces. People who had spent the afternoon treating him like family. People who trusted Sophia's judgment. People who deserved honesty. Mrs. Sophia, he said formally. When I first met your granddaughter, our relationship began as a business arrangement, a fake engagement for publicity purposes. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. But, he continued, his voice growing stronger, what started as fake became real. What I feel for Sophia is the most real thing in my life. And if there's a scandal coming, if there are people trying to hurt me or my company, I won't let them hurt her or any of you. And how? Asked Victor Sr. Do you plan to prevent that? By fighting, by proving that whatever allegations are being made are false, by protecting the people I love. Abuela Sofia studied him for another long moment. Then she stood up from her chair, all 4 feet 11 inches of her, and walked over to him. You love her? She asked simply. Yes, ma'am. With everything I have, and you'll fight for her? Yes, ma'am. Even if it costs you your money? Yes, ma'am. Even if it costs you your reputation? Yes, ma'am. Abuela Sofia nodded once decisively. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small wooden cross worn smooth by decades of handling. This was my husband's, she said, pressing it into Dylan's hand. He carried it through Korea, through 47 years of marriage, through raising 6 children and burying 2 of them. It protected him through everything life threw at him. Dylan stared down at the small cross, overwhelmed by the gesture. I want you to carry it now. Abuela Sofia continued. Not because I think you need protection, but because I think you need to remember that family protects family. And as of today, Your family. Dylan felt tears prick his eyes. Mrs. Sophia. You call me Abuela now. And you bring my granddaughter home safe. I will. Sophia hugged her grandmother fiercely, then turned to address her family. I need you all to know that whatever you see on the news, whatever stories people tell, what Dylan and I have is real. It started crazy, but it's real. We know, Mija, said her mother softly. Love always starts a little crazy. As they prepared to leave, each family member hugged them goodbye with the fervor of people sending loved ones off to war. Luca slipped Dylan his business card. In case you need someone to help you disappear for a while, Nico offered the use of his off-duty police friends for security, and even cousin Mia pressed a tube of pepper spray into Sophia's hands. You never know when you might need to mace a reporter. As they walked to the car, Dylan could already see the news vans turning onto the street. Here we go, Sophia said, taking his hand. Are you sure about this? Dylan asked one last time. It's not too late for you to walk away. Go back inside. Tell them I fooled you, too. Protect yourself. Sophia stopped walking and turned to face him. Dylan Harper, you listen to me. A week ago, my biggest problem was an overheating fuel injection system. Today, I'm madly in love with a billionaire who may or may not be about to lose everything. Do you think I'm going to walk away from the best adventure of my life just because it got complicated? It's going to be more than complicated. It's going to be ugly. Good thing I'm not afraid of getting my hands dirty. Dylan kissed her then, right there in front of the approaching news vans, not caring who saw or what photos they took. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead against hers. I love you, Sofia Vargas. I love you too, Dylan Harper. Now, let's go save your company. They got in the Tesla as the first news van pulled up in front of the house. As they drove away, Dylan could see Sophia's family forming a protective barrier on the front lawn. Luca and Nico flanking their parents, while Abuela Sofia sat regally in a lawn chair that someone had quickly brought outside, holding court like a queen defending her castle. Your family is incredible, Dylan said. They're your family now too, Sofia replied. Abuela doesn't give away her husband's cross lightly. Dylan fingered the small wooden cross in his pocket. What does that mean exactly? It means you're stuck with us. Vargas family members are for life, remember? As they drove through the streets of LA toward Dylan's office building, where a team of lawyers and crisis management specialists were waiting, Dylan felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. Yes, his company was under attack. Yes, his reputation was being dragged through the mud. Yes, the next few weeks were going to be the hardest of his professional life. But he had Sophia. He had her brilliance, her strength, her unwavering loyalty. He had a family that had just claimed him as their own. And he had the memory of Abuela Sofia's knowing smile as she handed him her most precious possession. Whatever happens, he said to Sophia as they pulled into the parking garage, we face it together. Together, she agreed. And as they walked into the building hand in hand, ready to fight for their love and their future, Dylan realized that sometimes the best things in life really were completely insane. We face it together. No evidence of wrongdoing. Harper Enterprises had posted record profits. Sustainable technology investments were apparently very popular with consumers, and Dylan and Sophia were planning their actual wedding. How many people are we up to now? Dylan asked, looking over the guest list. 437, Sophia replied. And that's just my family. Your family is not 437 people. You clearly don't understand how Vargas family math works. Everyone is related to everyone, and everyone's neighbor is basically family. Your family is not 437 people. What about my side? Your board of directors, your publicist, your lawyer, and that guy from the coffee shop you like. So, 5 people. That seems unbalanced. Don't worry, Sophia grinned. After the wedding, you'll have 437 new family members. Lucky you. Dylan pulled her into his arms. Luckiest man alive. Even if you have to make flan for every family gathering for the rest of your life. Especially then. And as he kissed his brilliant, beautiful, completely insane fiancée surrounded by wedding plans that included 3 mariachi bands, a chocolate fountain, properly engineered this time, and enough Mexican food to feed a small country, Dylan Harper had never been happier to be completely out of his depth. After all, the best adventures always started with jumping over barriers to save someone, even if you had no idea how to land. The end.